Father was busy tidying up odds and ends for the move. Distracted for just a moment, he accidentally left baby Jamie still asleep in his cradle on the beach. By the time he turned around, the waves had already swept the cradle out to sea. Without a second thought, he dove into the water after his son, but the tide was far too strong, making it impossible to swim very far. Desperate, he scrambled into a small boat and rowed with everything he had, chasing after the drifting cradle. Somehow, it was moving far faster than it should have. Moments earlier, the sky had been bright and cloudless, but in the blink of an eye, dark storm clouds rolled in. Rain came pouring down as towering waves battered the sea, tossing the little boat violently from side to side and blocking his path. Realizing that pushing any farther would almost certainly cost him his life, he had no choice but to stop and watch helplessly as the cradle carrying his infant son drifted into the endless ocean. From that day on, everyone believed little Jamie had been claimed by the sea. Unable to bear the painful memories that haunted Rhone Island, the family left for good and settled in a small coastal town nearby. 4 years flew by. Jamie's older sister, Fanny, had grown into a lively young girl. She boarded a boat from distant Dublin and traveled across the country to spend her entire summer vacation with her grandparents on Ireland's west coast. After the long journey, she finally arrived in the peaceful seaside town. Her grandparents' cottage sat high on a hillside, overlooking the ocean with sweeping views in every direction. Her grandfather, Matthew, was a tall man whose skin had been deeply tanned by years of sea wind and sun. Happy to see Fanny, he warmly asked whether the trip had worn her out or if she had gone hungry along the way. Before long, his expression turned serious as he quietly reminded her not to mention Jamie in front of her grandmother, fearing it would reopen old wounds. Her grandmother, Tess, was kind, capable, and occasionally strict, though the love she had for her granddaughter was impossible to miss. After dinner, Matthew led Fanny to the window, pointed toward a lonely island in the distance. He explained that it was Rhone Island, where the family had once lived. The place that had once been filled with laughter and life had become nothing more than an abandoned island. As they were talking, a boy walked in. It was Fanny's distant cousin Eamon, who had grown up by the sea, loved the ocean with almost stubborn devotion. Though quiet by nature, he had a genuinely kind heart, and it didn't take long before he and Fanny became close friends. That night, Fanny couldn't fall asleep. She got out of bed and looked out the window, only to spot a tiny flickering light on the deserted island. The next morning, she immediately asked her grandfather whether anyone still lived there. He firmly shook his head and explained that Rhone Island was surrounded by water and had been abandoned for years, with only colonies of seals calling it home now. His answer only deepened Fanny's suspicion. A powerful feeling settled in her heart that her missing brother might never have died at all and could have been living alone on Rhone Island this entire time. Her grandfather dismissed it as the imagination of a child, so she turned to Eamon instead. He also believed she simply missed her brother so much that she had started imagining impossible things. Early the following morning, Matthew planned to row out to Rhone Island to set fishing nets, and Fanny eagerly joined him. As the boat slowly approached the island, excitement and nervousness tangled inside her. Rhone Island was even more beautiful than she had imagined. Dozens of seals lay lazily across the rocks and sandy shore, basking in the sunshine. After they landed, Matthew told Fanny to explore on her own while he and Eamon went to set the nets, promising they would return to pick her up afterward. She pushed open the wooden door of her family's old house and froze in shock. Fresh grass had been piled neat in one corner. Nearby lay several worn pieces of clothing. A pile of firewood still smoldered on the floor, and smooth stones and seashells had been carefully arranged across the wooden table. Confusion filled her mind. Could someone be living on this deserted island? When she stepped onto the beach outside, she spotted a row of tiny footprints pressed into the sand. She crouched down for a closer look, but before she could examine them carefully, a wave rushed ashore and erased every last footprint in seconds. That evening, after returning to her grandparents' house, Fanny told her grandmother everything she had seen. Tess gently urged her to accept reality, insisting that Jamie had died years ago, and suggesting that the dying campfire had most likely been left behind by fishermen who had briefly stopped on the island to rest. Even though no one believed her, Fanny couldn't shake the hope growing inside her. She was convinced that Rhone Island was hiding the truth about her little brother.